Hey everyone, and welcome to Television from the Multiverse, the DC TV show from Male Fuzz TV. We talk about DC TV shows. That's what we do. I'm Peter, by the way, and that's Connor.
That might be your least enthusiastic intro yet.
I wasn't that unenthusiastic. I
don't know. You kind of just went. But I suppose we talk about DC show. You kind of just you lost it halfway through.
Yeah, I lost it, but it wasn't lack of enthusiasm. It was more just I forgot where I was going and just kind of rambled for a second while my mind caught up to what I was doing.
It came across as unenthusiastic.
Fine. Luckily, though, you come across as the most unenthusiastic person on the planet, so even sitting next to you, I still look fairly peppish.
It's true, and it's summer now, so prepare for even more unenthusiasm from me.
Oh dear. I'll be going out and walking every day, so I'm actually kind of enjoying the nicer weather to a point, which is nice.
Piss off.
For a change.
I was just telling you, I had to work in a lack of aircon.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it's shite.
Yes. So yeah, DC TV shows. Obviously, we're going to talk about new episodes of Swamp Thing and also Krypton on the show. Now, we are supposed to also have all the episodes of other shows. We've been working through Smallville and Gotham. We did not have time to do that this week, mainly due to our busy schedule. But
blame Netflix.
Blame Netflix, partly, yes. So it's going to be kind of a lighter episode this week, and we'll try and get those back in next week. And if they're not back in next week, they'll definitely be back the week after that, and we'll be rolling again.
I wish you hadn't said definitely. Every time you say that, it goes wrong.
We're usually pretty good at getting all the shows in for this. It's just
no, we are, but it's on any show. Whenever you say "there's definitely happening," it goes badly.
If they don't, it'll be Connor's fault. All right, I'll say it now. So that's the plan for the show.
Take significant umbrage with that comment.
As far as news, I know there's been like little rumors for the various shows coming back on CW. Like I think Supergirl's maybe getting a love interest, and I think I heard there's going to be an all kids episode of Legends. But it's all very.
They didn't say it would be. I saw that comment specifically. It was from the showrunner who they were asked, "Oh, are we doing like a pregnancy plot next season?" And I was like, "No, there won't be any pregnancies or anything like that. Just many kids, many kids." And they were like, "Are you joking?" He's like, "Nope."
I can see them doing an episode with alternate kids because we already kind of did that with Sarah and Ava. I could totally see a sequel to that almost where we get everyone as kids.
Yeah. Or like a weird, future where they all have kids and it's like, their kids as the team.
I could see that. And we'll see that Mick's child is like more like the Ray. He's like really kind of like nerdy and innocent. But then like Gary's kid's the Mick. Like he's really gruff and angry all the time.
Exactly, yeah.
And they'll all be like, "What happened? Well, how did we all
Legends is the sort of show that I'd do this random shit just for the hell of it.
Yeah. So, but there was no really big news because I always check the Newsarama's TV section before we start just to see if there's anything that we didn't see, but there was nothing in there for the DC TV shows. So, hey ho, here we are. So we're going to talk about two shows then. We're going to talk about Swamp Thing, episode 4 of season 1. Well, this only season is called Darkness on the Edge of Town. So obviously full spoilers for each episode as we talk about them. This one has more of a kind of a monster of the week plot, I'd say, in the sense that there is actually like a horror plot going on throughout the episode where this virus is kind of making people freak out and like their worst nightmares, they're seeing their worst nightmares happening. And
it's just what we needed on this show, another virus.
And it's causing them to act out in what they think is defense, but they're actually just like a danger to themselves and everyone around them. Yeah. Which honestly is a plot is fine. Like I actually the first guy who freaks out at the start, I actually really liked that scene.
No, I agree. I liked that one a lot. Kind of went downhill from there though.
I liked that one a lot because the first one, the guy, because he was out in the swamp and he gets a scratch from the corpse, and
right, hang on, before we even carry on.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell, dude? You got bitten by a corpse and you don't think maybe I should go and check this out at a bloody doctor's? Like, people get tetanus from a rusty nail. This is a corpse in a swamp.
Yeah, but we're in the US. He doesn't have healthcare. You'd have to pay for it. And he's living next to a swamp. right?
I mean, still, I feel like if I got bitten by a corpse, even if I didn't have healthcare, that's the point where I go, okay, that was a corpse.
Yeah, he's thinking about the medical bill. That's all he's thinking about. He's like, no, no, I'll make sure it's all right. And I've seen you do that with several things, and you don't have to pay for healthcare, so
No, like I said, but I have a line where it's a corpse in a swamp bites me. That's my line.
that's your
That
line.
happens, I probably should go straight to a doctor's.
Yeah, but no, he thinks there's a snake in his hand coming out the sink, and he ends up like slashing at his hand with a knife, and then eventually just stabbing the crap out of his arm. And it's actually like a really brutal scene.
Yeah, and then he shoves it in the disposal in the sink.
Yeah, the grinder, and then he pulls out a stump that's just gushing of blood, and they're like,
That's good.
"Whoa,
Like this bit was good. I was like, oh, I might like this episode.
And I think I probably do like it the most out of the four.
I mean, sure, I agree with that.
Because I think this plot's, you know, it does kind of like get less interesting as it goes. Although I do think the second nightmare, because it's Tremaine's dad, who gets scratched by him, and he ends up like having this weird like slasher like movie like nightmare where his mother's been killed and there's all these guys in masks coming at him. It's not as like obviously as gory or brutal as the first one, but I did kind of enjoy it for what it was. It was kind of fun.
It was okay. Like I said, I like that one was still all right. I felt diminishing returns on the nightmares.
Well, it's because everyone that gets scratched after the first guy couldn't die because they're all characters they want to have stick around. So they all had to end in some way where because the snake thing wasn't even a big deal. It wasn't about the snake that made it enjoyable. It was the absolute insane violence when he eventually went completely nuts.
It was. I think the difference is though, the horror that he was reacting to was so visceral, whereas no one else felt had quite that reaction. It was a more personal fear, whereas his was very much, oh shit, there's a snake,
Okay.
right? I think just that reaction of the fear was more interesting and more fun to watch, as opposed to the others clearly living traumatic experiences, but as they went on, less and less just scared in that regard.
Yeah, but I mean the horror stuff, especially in the first half of it, was fairly enjoyable, and then the other stuff with Abby, like her stuff is mostly about Swamp Thing now, where she's investigating Swamp Thing. She goes out to the swamp and says, "Can I get a sample?" And he stretches out some vines and she snaps one off, and he's warning her, "There's dangers in this swamp, Abby. Be careful," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Swamp Thing looks, sounds, and feels like what you want Swamp Thing to look, sounds, and feels like. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying this episode comes out squeaky clean because there's everything with Sunderland, like.
Oh
yeah.
God. Yeah.
Don't care.
And Xanadu
with Blue Devil, like, because they spent a long.
I think Blue Devil himself, the actor, thinks quite charismatic and charming. Like when he's talking to the balloons, and he's like, "Well, what the hell am I doing?" He comes across as charming enough.
Sure.
But the actual plot that he's doing, no.
We spend so much time in the previous on getting reminded that new person in town, it must be this Abby Arcade. Oh, I'm going to save her. Like, and ultimately, like, we have this one scene with the balloons where he tries to talk to her, and she's like, "Oh well, it's nice that you do this for the kids, but I need to go and deal with patients." And
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where he talks to Xanadu, and then him helping ends up just being tackling the sheriff when she's going nuts on the virus, and she's waving a gun about. That's kind of all it really amounts to. But when she tells Alec about this, because Alec or Swamp Thing kind of shows up, when she's investigating the corpse, he's like, "Oh, there's some things that belong in the swamp. When you find this thing and bring it back." So when she gets scratched by the sheriff, she chooses to go to the swamp on her own. The idea being that Swamp Thing will, it's kind of building their trust up a little bit. I did kind of like the visual of like when she thinks she's like being grabbed, she's actually hugging Swamp Thing. It's like it's like maybe she's not ready to actually hug him and be affectionate with him yet, but we kind of get the visual of it before we're ready to get that. And obviously her nightmare kind of teases a big villain, which we'll probably never get because it's not going to happen in season 1, I don't think. And that is Anton Arcane. I mean, that's clear what this is hinting at, right?
Yeah, who is he is Swamp Thing's big enemy, the arch enemy. He's his Joker, his Lex Luthor, right? To put it in perspective of Swamp Thing, of course. That's the biggie. and it's a shame we're probably never going to see that on this. Which shit, that's just reminded me. There was kind of a weird bit of news related to this.
To this?
I don't know if you, yeah. Now this is all rumor and hearsay and stuff, but there was Warner Bros. Have seen the backlash to Swamp Thing being cancelled.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently their plan is, again, I'll just rumor at this point, is to do a movie by James Wan with a completely different cast. You can't make it up. I know.
I mean, it'll probably end up being better on the show because James Wan, usually at least, is a good director. Although I didn't love Aquaman. Like Aquaman was passable.
It's all right.
But Swamp Thing's more of a horror thing, which is where James Wan.
It's typically where his talents lie.
Yeah. I mean, he's not that every horror thing he's ever done has been good. I mean, Death Sentence? No, Dead Silence. Dead Silence was his. The puppet.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that movie. but he did do Insidious. He did do Conjuring 1 and 2. And he did, some solid movies. So, but anyway,
just the idea of that. I go, okay, we're looking into it. We're just gonna start again.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, she does that, and that kind of solves the main plot. It kind of ends in a weird place where it kind of like just the music ramps up as she's staring at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, find out what I am, blah 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 blah, and so on. But it kind of ends in a bit of a lacking cliffhanger. I felt. But hey, the Sunderland plot. Actually, before we go to that, we should probably mention that Abby ends up kind of working with Woodrow, who like sees the samples, that's impossible, and is like, let me work in this, and she's like, nah, you work for Sunderland, I don't want to trust you. He's like, no, let me do it, I can do this. And she's like, well, I don't want anyone else to know about it, like, you come to me and no one else finds anything out.
I mean, weirdly, you kind of believe him because he's just eccentric enough to be into the science of it.
Yeah, he is frothing at the mouth at the thought of whatever this is. He's like, oh.
It's like, for him, it's not about the money or going to Sunderland with things. It is the science, right? So
the discovery,
the creation. I think more than just the discovery. He's egotistical like that. But I mean, either way, I think he's relatively kind of trustworthy on this, in that he wants to look into. Of course, he wants to. He'll eventually want to abuse it for himself, but the idea, okay, no, he does want to look into it for his own reasons, rather than to tell Sunderland.
Yeah. So, but no, worth mentioning that the Sunderland plot is that the little girl who was sick before and is Susie. There you go. She ended up going to stay with them for a weekend, because her drunk uncle or whoever it was that doesn't show up, and basically we find out at the end that Sunderland suggests to his wife that maybe they should keep a kid around the house, and it's clearly a tactic to make her happier because she's been kind of miserable, and it's like, oh, there's a child in the house again. This will give her purpose. This will give her something to do.
Maybe she'll stop being haunted by the other dead kid.
Yeah, but we see him pay off the uncle. He's basically bought the kid for his wife. So remember, he's sinister. I mean, we saw him kill someone last episode. Although we did get a weird flashback with him where his dad was trying to make him kill an alligator.
Yeah,
that was a weird scene.
It was. It's weird to have that after he's killed someone.
Yeah, if anything, that's your tease, before he might kill someone.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, there's he's not sure about even killing an alligator. How can he kill a man, right?
Yeah, but this idea that maybe he does have it in him. He's got this history, maybe or whatever. But
sure, I can see why you would do that beforehand. Afterwards, I don't know. I feel like we already know he's a killer. You've just showed us this last episode.
Let's just try to give him some depth. If there's going to be more of them, maybe we'll see kind of a journey of how he becomes a killer or something like that. I don't know, but like there could be a reason down the line. It's not something that it just stuck out to me because at this point I'm kind of so out in that character. He's one of the dullest characters on the show that I'm. Whereas I feel like there's nothing wrong conceptually with having a flashback like this. It's just, he's kind of dull. His plot has been one of the worst elements of the show so far. Him and his wife, and this didn't do anything better for him.
I think for me, even conceptually, it just feels a weird placement to do this after the big moment of last episode. This feels like the sort of thing you would do beforehand. Even with a character I'd be into, I'd be questioning the purpose.
It depends where it goes, because I get the contrast of the scene that, now he is capable of killing someone. Now he is burying a body, compared to like him refusing when he's a kid. There's a contrast there, which I think is the intention. I'm not sure why it's there yet, but I won't throw it under the bus on its own immediately, because I don't think we have enough information to actually make that judgment.
Sure.
Was that basically everything?
I think so. Just a couple of other little things I want to throw out that I kind of disliked.
Sure.
In the infection, being passed in the scratches. Obviously, it was kind of like not just an infection; it was a kind of an entity. But there was that weird black flash sort of thing that the screen did whenever it happened, just to really make it obvious. That I found really distracting early on. Like it was like, "Hey, look, they got scratched." I felt that was really jarring.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then the other thing as well, just when Abby's putting it all together, with Swamp Thing, she's like, "Oh, they all got scratched or bitten," and it flashes through seeing, the moment. It actually shows us the moments again. I'm like, why? This wasn't that long ago. It's been a focal point of the episode. There's no need to remind us of that.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say this one did go in quicker than the last couple. I didn't quite feel the length like I did the last couple. I didn't
fall asleep in this one.
Well, that's a good sign. But no, I felt like, when it was. I mean, admittedly, I think the ending does feel kind of abrupt, and like I'm not sure what it's not like a big good moment to end on. But other than that, like I did feel like it moved fairly quickly. So I am probably the most positive on this episode. Although what's weird is I'm probably still less positive sounding than I was with episode 1, and I think it's because. Maybe it's because I know it's cancelled, so I'm just reserved and I don't want to whatever. But
you don't actually want to go. Oh, this is going to be great.
But I'm still not super into a lot, even though I think this is the best episode in the sense that it has the best pacing and the problem of the week that they had to solve. Right, like that was more enjoyable in places. And the fact that what Abby's doing in the B plot is to do with Swamp Thing himself, so things feel a bit more relevant. Sunderland's plot still kind of sucks, but. Between Sunderland, between not really caring about Xanadu, whatever Blue Devil's up to, not really caring about Liz, she seems kind of awkward, not really caring about the sheriff or her son, like, there's so many of these excess characters that I don't really give a shit about that I still overall kind of feel very lukewarm on it, despite the fact that I think this episode is better than the previous 3.
No, I agree. Something I should mention is I almost want to praise that hey, it didn't have the big massive Swamp Thing moment at the end, right? I mean, he was there dramatically, but it wasn't a big set piece. But alternatively, there was no Swamp Thing set piece in the entire episode, and I feel like I'm missing out. So, ups and downs.
Yeah. I will say that the scene where he extends out his arm, the vines for the sample, that's the one time where the CG's been a bit iffy.
That whole scene, because there was the vine he actually extended out for the sample and the ones that he did to grab the boat beforehand looked a bit ropey as well. It was not in a good way in this context.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, again, it's a really weird thing to be reviewing a season when we know it's not going to have an ending, and it's not like something like because we're currently doing Firefly where it's like no, it's just really good. So and it does kind of have an ending, I suppose, in that sense because we got the movie, but but it's really great. Most of the episodes, whereas this is kind of like, well, typically if this was season 1 and we thought we were getting more, we would just be like, oh, it might find its feet, it might get better as time goes on. Whereas we don't have that.
I mean, we're almost halfway through the entire show now.
Yes,
and we're kind of feeling very mediocre.
Yeah, I'm feeling very unfulfilled, which does kind of make me. Well, I'm happy it's only 10 now. Like it means there's only 6 left.
what I'm saying is, I can't wait till Young Justice is back, which is just in a couple of weeks, right?
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it is. Do you want me to double check quickly?
I'll have to check during the show. I don't remember when it's coming back.
I'm sure it's early July.
I've had so many TV stuff to review recently. I'm like, my brain's not there for it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's a lot right now. July 2nd. So wait, that can't be right. That's a Tuesday. Why did that say July 2nd?
Maybe there won't be
Oh
old
no,
episodes.
it is July 2nd.
Ah, well, there won't be old episodes of things next week then, because there'll be 3 Young Justice episodes.
Yeah. All right then.
Excellent news.
It's good job that kind of came up because that might have got slipped through the cracks.
I'm sure I would have seen people tweeting about it on Twitter.
Okay, fair enough. I just what I appreciate that they're staggering them throughout the week with that though. Like because that's a Tuesday as opposed to strict everything Friday. They're not doubling it up with Swamp Thing. Maybe it'll shift back to Friday.
Oh, I thought you meant they were staggering the 3 episodes out throughout the week. No, you just mean they're putting all those on Tuesdays.
No, just the content as to opposed to 3 Young Justice and a Swamp Thing on the same day.
That's interesting for us actually then, because obviously when we record this, we'll be much closer to the new Young Justice episodes. The ones we put up will be quite fresh compared to the Swamp Thing, which is almost a full week old.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's coming next week then. Swamp Thing, we will move on to the other new show, of course, we watched this week, which was Krypton, Season 2, Episode 3. It's called Will to Power. So, this episode kind of completes the arc of being on Kolu with Lobo and being connected to Brainiac. It has a few good high moments in this that are kind of stand out, kind of cool. Especially Lobo has his big shooting his own head off. To
and regrowing out of his hand.
Yeah, because he can't get past this barrier that cuts him off, so he deliberately shoots himself so that. And it's a great head explosion as well. I am a little bit weaker on this episode, in the sense that this one really made me realise that I do think that the first 3 episodes should have been the first 2 episodes and not spread over 3.
I can see that.
I felt like some of the other plots this episode didn't really go very far and didn't really amount to much, especially since, Lyta nagging Zod to go to Wegthor, right? Like, she was doing that last episode, and in this episode, she just did that again until he gave in, and now she's going to Wegthor.
Yeah, and the thing is, that last scene with them is a fantastic scene.
Yes, but all of her asking to go before that, though, was kind of tedious, because, we've done this already.
We did all that last week. Yeah, exactly.
And Jada just has a quick subplot. She has, like, an old flame who's in the Resistance that she kind of uses. She has sex with her, only so she can kind of, like, get her chip scanner thingy, and then she...
You mean Nissa, don't you?
What did I say, Jaina? Sorry, Nissa, yeah.
You said Jaina, yeah.
Yeah, I meant Nissa. She has that little subplot, and she gets some information, presumably for Zod. We don't really see what she does with it yet, but, so again, not a whole lot there really happens. It's a couple of quick... there's one conversation with Val where he kind of thanks her because, the information she told him was correct, and they've got all these supplies now, and they've kind of hampered the...
Saved a lot of people.
Yeah, they've hampered the efforts of Zod's army in the area, and they're planning a big attack on, like, the... Basically the dock, the port for everyone coming up to the moon. They're going to take control of that so that they effectively get control of the moon at that point. That's leading up to big things. And we actually see Clem finally. he's up there, ready to go. Yeah. Which is cool. But yeah, not a whole lot of advancement, and I felt kind of in a weird place as well with the Jaina and Dev plot, where the opening scene of it's fine because it's like, okay, she's not been here for a while. He's like, no, you don't understand. Light is like Zod's right hand man. Like, she's there with him. She's fully on board with this. Like, things are different, since you've been gone for these however many months, and they kind of fall out. And I'd actually forgotten that we never went back to that plot for the whole episode until it eventually came back to her. And the ending to this plot was her just after he walked off, she finds him just lying there somewhere.
Yeah.
As if he's on a bender, and sort of takes him inside, and then they sort of hug and cry together.
This had no weight to it.
No, this was weird. I think Dev was always was one of the weaker characters of season 1.
He was. Yeah.
And Jaina has a lot more going for her than he does, but this is more about how he feels, so it does come off as a little bit hollow.
It was lacking a lot of context here of, what exactly was he going through. Like we saw a lot last season, don't get me wrong, but in this moment, he felt quite okay at the start of the episode when he was talking with Jaina.
Yeah, yeah.
And then to find out, it felt like quite a drastic shift where I didn't really get inside his head to understand it.
Yeah, I mean, it's implying that he has been doing so because we find out that they weren't looking for Jaina, they were looking for him, like the soldiers, the Sagittari. So he's been up to something that's been angering the Sagittari in this time.
Yeah,
so I'm sure we'll find out what that is, and maybe he's having a tough time of it. But we don't really get enough context to really feel anything in the scene itself, unfortunately. Yeah. And the main plot on Kolu does have most of the best bits of the episode, and there's some great stuff in there. But again, I did kind of feel this dragging out over the 2 episodes, kind of hurting it a little bit, because once Seg was kind of inside his own head talking to Brainiac, and Brainiac was trying to trick him with like people he cared about, eventually Lyta being the main one. I found that stuff a little bit tedious and kind of been there, done that. Not necessarily in the show per se, just in general.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't want to hold it against it too much because, like you say, this show hasn't really done that. It didn't really go on that long either. There was only, I think, 2 scenes of it. There was the first scene where he was going through everyone, and then the one where he was Lyta. So it didn't even spend that much time on it.
I think the problem with it is that I don't really see what it accomplished. It kind of just felt like filler for the sake of padding out the episode.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because ultimately, in the real world, because Seg's sort of coming back and forth from Control, and he's with Adam, and they're getting to this place. Seg knows about this birthing tree or whatever on Kolu, and they're going to go there because the technology should be able to take Brainiac out of him. And they get in there. It's got this force field, which is what ends up cutting Lobo's arm off. And we get that fun stuff. And Lobo walking around in just his hands and his arms slowly regrowing as he's moving around. All that stuff is great, and he's really funny.
I can't believe Lobo is the highlight of this episode.
He is. He really is, though.
I don't wrong. Lobo has been great in both these episodes from what we've seen. It's just going in. Lobo is neither of our favorite character. He can be a bit grating.
Yeah.
Often he's quite childish and churlish in his humor, which can sometimes just come off as a bit cheap and boring. But it played really well here.
Yeah, because there's a couple of things. I like the moment with Adam and after he does wake up and Brainiac's left in the chair, and Lobo's just not got his legs yet. He's still moving around in 2 hands, and they just whip out the Zeta beam and they just both give him the finger before they beam out of there. That did make me laugh. That was a good moment.
Lobo was giving him the finger all episode.
Yeah, he was
from multiple hands.
Yeah, from a hand that was not attached to his body, might be add. and that was good fun.
It was great. My only thing with that is, I can't remember what it was. It's like, all right, see you, bitch, or whatever he says.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it'd been a Bastich. Just throw it back in his face.
Oh, sure. I could see that. So they end up in Krypton, a few miles from Kandor. They're out in the snow. Right now, I'm not sure why we have a weird CPR moment where Seg's... I mean, don't get me wrong, I did think it was kind of funny the way he reacted to technically being dead for a brief moment.
That was quite amusing, yeah.
That was quite funny between the two of them after he woke up, but I wasn't really sure why we were doing it in general. I was like, why do we have a weird CPR moment?
I think most of it was just for the comedy, because I don't think it was an ongoing symptom of anything.
Yeah.
Adam mentions, hey, it's not for the weak at heart, and Seg was not in a great place physically speaking after just being ripping apart.
He's never traveled this way before, whereas Adam's been doing it tiered. But it felt so random in the moment. I'm like, why are we doing because he's obviously going to wake up. Why are we doing this?
Yeah. I do think, unless it comes up again later and it's a symptom of something larger, I do think it is just for the comedy beat after.
Which was funny, I admit. So
yeah, exactly.
Because he's like, I was dead. He's like, yeah, but I undeaded you. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like, I'm still dead, just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cliffhanger as they're walking towards Kandor, and that's Boom. And I think that's part of what makes this feel like it's been stretched. These 3 episodes should have been condensed into 2 episodes, because not only do I feel that the padding and the stretch out, mostly in this one versus last one, although I do think there was maybe a couple of things where, I feel like there'd have been less. The last episode felt like there was running around the forest if it had been condensed with this one, and it has been tighter paced.
Here's the thing. I don't think it even needs to be the 3 condensed into 2. I think it is specifically just these 2 that need to be condensed
2 and 3.
into 1.
Yeah, that's fair. But the other problem with that makes me feel that way, outside of feeling the padding, is that it does kind of feel like they just wanted to keep them separate from everyone else for an extra episode. Like, we could have had them on their way back to the end of episode 2. And I'm not really sure why, because like I say, not much really progresses in all the other plots this episode, where we couldn't have just done that last episode.
Yeah.
What a great deal of it. So I feel like, there's an odd pacing here where it feels like they've stretched 2 episodes out. It should have been 1 episode, but they stretched it out over 2. And I really felt it in this half particular.
Yeah, and that's something I don't really remember feeling much last season. I mean, we had some problems here or there going around, but I never really felt the pacing. I don't think at any point.
I wonder if it was a budget thing, because this episode was definitely one of the cheaper ones. And just in the sense that there wasn't a whole lot of space shots, there wasn't a whole lot of fighting or anything like that. It was,
Lobo. A nice effect shots here or there with Lobo.
Yeah, Lobo was the main thing, effects wise,
and it did look really good actually.
Oh, it did. No, it did look good. But yeah, so hopefully it's maybe back more on top form. I mean, it's not like a bad sign, I don't think, of the show, because like, no, it doesn't, like, because sometimes you watch an episode and it feels like it's actually upsetting the plots that you've got. This doesn't do that. It just feels like it's stretching them out before we get to actually moving forward with them, which.
Yeah, it doesn't ruin any of the plots, though, like you say, which I think is important. It just loses some of the urgency.
Yeah. I really felt it in the first half when we were just running through the forest for a long time, and I'm like, we've barely done anything different yet.
That's if you cut down these 2 episodes, you get rid of a lot of the running through forest. You have some of it, obviously, because you have to have a little bit. You get rid of most of that. You get rid of all of the repeated scenes of Lyta, begging Zod to send her up there. Already, you've cut out, nearly half of the episodes together.
Yeah. Maybe you cut out the scene where Lyta actually contacts Zod, and you just save it for like her stealing this information to be the moment where you go, oh, maybe she is doing things for Zod. You don't need both necessarily. Nissa. Did I say Jane again?
You said Lyta that time.
I said Lyta that time. I'm sorry, Nissa. I for some reason I seem to think you're everyone but Nissa.
You're convinced she's a Zod.
I'm convinced she's a Zod somehow. It's the evil look she always had on her face. That's what it is.
It probably is.
But no, there you go. That's it. I did actually, our conversation with Val though, I liked when she says, "You sound like Seg," and he's like, "I'm older. He sounds like me."
Yeah. I'm enjoying having him around. The real him.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah. But that was pretty much it. Not a whole lot more to dive into. Yeah. No Doomsday this episode, of course. I'm sure we'll get to him.
No, that's fine. I can appreciate that. There's no need to cram that in here. If they've teased it, they've established it's still out there. It's clearly going to be presumably the threat for the rest of the season, along with Zod.
Yeah, I don't think Lobo's going to be able. I think Lobo will be showing up in some capacity. Maybe not be for a few episodes. He may be gone for until the last couple.
I wouldn't expect to see him till the back half of the season at some point. I think it's mostly going to be internal and external with Zod and Doomsday respectively.
Yes. So there you go. That's Krypton. So picking the best of the week's actually kind of a weird one this week.
Yeah, because something had argued its best episode, Krypton had argued its worst. I still think I probably got more enjoyment out of Krypton just because I like the characters more.
Yeah, you just care about that more at this point, so
yeah. Like I say, the probably. I mean, objectively, something was probably a tighter episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I just got more enjoyment out of just even just the character banter on Krypton, which I like a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll probably just agree with that. It's a tough one though, because there's neither one I'm super enthusiastic about this week. It's not like, that's the winner. I feel it in my veins. That's the winner. You know, I'm guessed that one is the winner, but it's it's kind of like at the end of a boxing match where there's no clear winner. You're just going by points, and the points are pretty close. It's not exciting.
There's no knockout, is what you're saying.
There's no knockout.
Yeah, it's all right. Next week, Krypton needs to be firing on all cylinders again if it wants to win against one of the Young Justice episodes.
I don't watch boxing. I don't give a shit about it. But I'm assuming that a knockout is more exciting than points at the end in every example, right?
I don't know actually, because a knockout is. I mean, it's exciting. It's like there's clear dominance, right? Of okay, one person has easily won. But I assume that if it's quite a close fight, the points. It could be tenser as to who's going to win. It can go down to it.
Okay.
And you get more actual boxing out of it because there's more. You actually go through the rounds.
Okay.
The time.
It's like tallying the points at the end of a boxing match that wasn't that exciting to watch.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
It was a bad boxing match, but it's going down to points.
Yeah. Sure.
There you go. Right.
This boxing analogy really got away from us.
Well, I mean, I do like wrestling, but I can't use that. I don't use points in wrestling. I suppose I could say it's like a double count out. Actually, no. This is perfect, right? So in wrestling, there's 4 ways you can win a match typically, right? There's
4.
There's pinfall, right? 1, 2, 3. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept.
I am. I would never. If you just said pinfall, I would never have.
Yeah, shoulders down, 1, 2, 3. Right, simple.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I get that.
Right, and then the submission. I'm sure that speaks for itself. Tapping out to a hold.
Sure.
Right, or verbally saying I give up because the pain's too much. Right, that's submission. There's count out when they're out the ring for over 10 seconds. The referee will count, and so you can have a double count out. If both competitors are out the ring, it's a double count out. And the reason why I'm saying this analogy is perfect is that if it's a championship match and one's and it's titles on the line and it's a double count out, the champion just retains the belt by default because there's no winner. That's what this is.
Right, okay.
And then the fourth was disqualification, just for the record. Just so Connor knows what all 4 are.
I forgot that you hadn't given me 4 yet, to be honest with you. I assumed count out and double count out was separate.
No.
Let's go back to boxing. I mean, I don't watch boxing, but at least I understand that one.
Yeah. Technically, there's a count. That never happens unless it's a last man standing match. But technically speaking, if someone can't get back up and the referee counts to 10, that's also over. But which is effectively a knockout finish. But I mean, it never happens in wrestling.
Yeah, that'd be boring, wouldn't it?
It would be boring because it's not exciting.
So what we've established is going back to the boxing point. Knockouts are not as fun.
No, I think in boxing it's supposed to be more fun because it's real.
Sure.
In wrestling, it's just 10 seconds of someone pretending to be knocked out.
Yeah, that is boring.
For the end of a wrestling match, I want flipping through a table off a ladder with like fire and shit. Alright, anyway, that's been the show. It's been a shorter episode because we just had the 2 new shows. And then next week we will not have Smallville. I'm actually upset that we robbed you of Smallville and Gotham and can't even give you some more until Young Justice is finished now. But Young Justice is back, so you're getting Young Justice next week.
Priorities.
Yeah. Our Thursday's going to be busy next week. This has dawned on me. It wasn't actually as bad as it used to be, because last time Young Justice was on, we had like 4 shows plus 3 Young Justice. This is just 2 plus 3 Young Justice. That's not too bad, actually.
It's not as bad, but the problem is it's summer months, and that heat makes you sleepy.
It's essentially 3.5 shows because Young Justice is 1.5 in terms of length.
Yeah,
3.5 shows. It's not too bad. We've had worse. We've definitely had worse. So, that is television for the multiverse. Let us know what you thought of this week's episodes in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and if you're on your podcast app and you listen to the audio version, give us a good rating on there. It does help out more people find the show. You can support us, of course, through Patreon, patreon.com/MailedFuzzTV, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get bonuses, exclusives, and various other things. And we've never actually quite thought of something specifically that kind of like correlates with this show per se. on Patreon. Maybe one day we'll think of something. Maybe one day. It's the sort of thing where if we didn't have like off seasons where we had to fill up the show with old shows, that the old shows would be the obvious thing, right? That'd be like, that could be a bonus thing, but obviously not, because we have off seasons where it's quieter and we have to have more content. So I'm not saying we're going to think of anything soon, but I'm just saying the thought has occurred to me.
Suggestions are welcome.
Sure, yeah.
Not guaranteed, but welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, you can suggest things. So, yeah, check out Patreon. Otherwise, though, that is us. Obviously, it's always worth promoting the Actual Comics podcast, Comics from the Multiverse, that both of us do with Matt. Every week we talk about DC's actual comic books that come out, and we've been doing that now.
You mean those still exist?
They still exist. We just hit 160 episodes, so we're well into the meaty numbers with that one. That said,
it's been going a while.
This one's getting relatively close to 100. We're in the 80s now. This is 83, I think. Yeah, this is 83, I'm sure.
Okay. I'm double checking because I know sometimes your numbers are off, but you're right, it is 83.
Yeah. So, yeah. I actually don't know what we'll do for episode. I feel we have to do something special for episode 100. I have no idea what it would be, though.
Pray it's not on a week with every show on.
It probably will be, because, it's another 18 weeks. It'll be after all the CW shows are back.
Balls.
There's no way there's 18 weeks before that happens. Or 17 weeks, maybe, just more accurately. But even then.
I'm just remembering a little tidbits the other week. They're showing the Harley Quinn animated show. They're showing the first episode
at Comic-Con.
At Comic-Con. So I wonder if that's... we haven't got a date for that yet, I don't think. So I think we'll probably get a date then.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a date with that. I mean, that'd make some sense.
Yeah. And that could kind of be any time, because they put they're showing with Young Justice now. They're willing to put the animated shows on alongside something else.
What I'm curious about, actually, just to speculate just before I say goodbye, is with them cutting 3 episodes from Swamp Thing, I'm surprised they didn't hold Young Justice Part 2 until that, just to fill in that gap, because presumably there's now a gap between Swamp Thing ending and whatever the next thing was going to be ready instead.
What is the next?
Because Stargirl got pushed, didn't it? Because it was supposed to be Stargirl. I thought
it was Titans season 2, but I don't think that's till September.
Do we have just a gap now where they have no new content going out for like a couple months?
Maybe. Just trying to get a date for Titans, because figure out how long a date.
It's a bad look if there's like literally nothing scheduled with an actual date after Swamp Thing now. Because that's like how long are we waiting then? Everyone drop your subscription, because there's no point in keeping it for a while.
It actually just says fall, I believe, for Titans. Which is probably where I'm getting September from in my head.
Because Swamp Thing, I mean, it's got 6 episodes left. We'll be done with that early August.
Yeah, and Young Justice only goes about 6 weeks, doesn't it?
4, the last part did.
Oh, you're right, 4, yeah.
So Young Justice will be done either at the same time or before Swamp Thing's done. Assuming they're releasing it the same way they did before.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely releasing 3 the first week. I can see them maybe splitting the last ones into 2s instead of a 4.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, but I mean, even that's not guaranteed.
I don't know, it's interesting. But that is the show. That is Television from the Multiverse. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching DC TV shows. And remember, guys, that sometimes we screw things up for the better.